welcome to Old Faithful. We are having so much fun with these duos. We're doing it again. I'm loving it. I am Matt Trask, of course. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this video on my YouTube channel, Matthew Trask. Please like and subscribe and share all the wonderful work that the incomparable Johnny Hastings and crew are doing here at Haggerty's Music Works. And special thanks to them and the incomparable Johnny Hastings, as always, every other week making me look good here on camera. Please support my friends at Black Hills Blend Espresso. Do you watch my show? Is there anything else I say in the beginning?
I didn't know you had a show until Orion told me you called.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I was just... Have I forgotten
a
it?
gig in here, and there's cameras. I just realized that. Wow.
Orion and Stacey Potter.
Yep.
It's so nice to have you on the show finally.
It's so good to be on
and
the show.
Be here.
All of your gear.
Technically,
there's a
this is not all of it.
Well, no,
There's
it's
more.
probably not all of the gear. No. So go ahead and maybe one at a time. Tell me about you and the people watching, of course.
Well, my name is Orion Potter. I just sing and picked up guitar, I guess, a few years ago. And I gotta tell you, I'm so nervous right now because Johnny Hastings, if you've heard Johnny play, you know that it can be kind of intimidating if you play guitar to play in the same room as him. So I'm a little nervous about that.
It can be, but please don't be nervous. But how long is a few years?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to play like all different kinds of instruments, but my family was broke,
Right.
so could never afford them. And my brother played guitar. My stepbrother played guitar, so I would kind of grab his guitar, and he'd always smack me away from it because you're ruining my strings. Your hands are all sweaty, you know.
Right.
So, just here and there, I'd kind of pick it up when I could, but I never really owned a proper guitar, you know. So
Right.
I bought this, I think, a few years ago, and we've been trying to incorporate it into our,
Sure.
our gigs and stuff.
About
Well,
2017, I think,
yeah,
for the
I think so.
electrics.
Okay. I'm getting the picture of a very picked on kid. Like, you weren't too poor to buy brother a guitar, but no, everybody's too poor to buy me a guitar. How does that work?
Well, my stepbrother.
Okay.
So
all right.
he was raised with his family.
Okay.
And so my mom just raised us by herself, my two sisters and
Sure.
myself, and didn't have a lot of money growing up. I wanted to play drums. I didn't want to sing. I didn't want to do it when I was a kid. So in church, me and the pastor's son, we trade off playing drums for church, and I learned a lot from him. And I was the drummer in my first band I was ever in when I was, I think, 16. The drummer, lead singer guy. And
Okay.
then we got Ryan Jackson, who is I think he's still with Baby Snakes.
Okay.
Anyway, so he was our drummer, and then I left the area and was just kind of the singer guy in a lot of bands touring around and stuff. And then wanted to get out of music
Right.
in about 2000, so I came back here. And
Success.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Okay.
well, huh?
Carry on.
And anyway, long story short, ended up in a couple more bands, and then I said, okay, I'm done. And then my mom moves back into town about 2009. She's like, I want us to sing together as a family again. I thought, okay, so how can I get my mom off my back? If you're watching, Mom, I love you. And I'm not saying this to be insulting or anything, but I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I said, okay, I'll just appease her, and we'll give it 6 months. Well, so we started singing, doing these shows down at the Beanery,
Right.
and it just kind of went from there. You know, we were singing with tracks, and I was like, this is just kind of, I don't know if people are gonna like this stuff. But people kept coming, and
Right.
it was weird. So I'm like, oh well, I guess whatever. And that just kind of evolved. I said, you know what, I want to play some guitar.
Right.
And stuff. So I just started teaching myself. I do not claim to be any kind of a guitar player. I've just taught myself to do certain songs
Right.
that I'm able to do, but anyway, so in a brief nutshell, I guess that's kind of my story.
Uh-huh. And I believe that we need to mention your mother because I'm a huge fan of her. It is Clover Potter, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Who was for a long time a radio personality on 5 State Farm Radio KVHB,
Yes,
and I got
she
to throw
was.
that in the show finally. And I miss her on the air.
Yeah,
She has a
was,
beautiful radio voice.
yeah, and her personality and stuff, you know.
Right.
And she was it
And,
Katie Cole?
She was Katie Cole
Katie
at
Cole
Cat
on Cat
Country when they
Country.
first opened.
I did
first.
not know that.
Yeah, that was like 94.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
Something like that.
all
And
right.
that is how she got to meet Vince Gill,
She met Vince Gill.
who she
got
calls
a
Vincey
picture.
Pooh.
Okay.
Vincey Pooh.
She got to meet Vince Gill,
Yes,
and that
I'm
was a
jealous.
big deal
I'm
in her
massively
life.
jealous.
And okay, all right. 8:10 a.m.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with it, is a large agricultural AM station, and sometimes, and I think very intentionally, borders on the cheesy.
I haven't listened to it in so long, but
Right. Well, at the time that your mother was on, she had a program in the afternoon. It was kind of a request hour called Kickstart Your Heart, because it was sponsored by the Kickstart gas station outside of town, I believe.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the.
Some cheesy South Dakota lore for you here on the show.
Yep.
But we should probably talk about your lovely wife
Yes.
here, or let her talk about her.
Well, which part do you want to know?
Well, your musical journey, how you fell in love with this guy pretending to be a guitar player, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I was actually born in Michigan. My family's military, and so that's
Okay.
how we ended up here. We came here when I was 8, and that's when I started piano lessons.
Oh,
And I studied with Cora Freed, who I don't think is giving lessons anymore, but she did for a very long time. She was one of the primary teachers here in
I've
town.
heard that name.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's a phenomenal pianist.
Okay.
Oh, she's just a beautiful pianist. And so I took lessons with her, and then had a son very early, which don't do this, children. Don't have babies early. Don't do it.
This is before we met.
This is before we met.
Okay,
Just
all
saying.
right.
Because then they give you grandbabies early. Yes.
Okay, all right, sure. Well, that'll happen too. Yeah.
So
But,
she's Granny. Right now. She's Granny.
Gramps.
Anyway,
I wanted to be a concert pianist,
Oh,
and so I went to Black Hills State, and I was studying under Dr. Janine Larson,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got in a car accident. I was 19, and it damaged the nerves in my arms.
oh,
So concert pianist went out the window,
right.
which I think was probably God used that as a plan, because if I had done that, I wouldn't have met Orion. And then I moved into Nola Townhouses in, I think, 1998, and he was living there with his grandma.
I had
Like,
come
we were
back
like
from
200 feet apart for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And then he saw me in the parking lot and asked the office managers who I was for my name, and they told him, and they said, "We'll try and get her phone number for you," and they
and
did.
I thought they were joking. I just said the comment kind of. I was like, oh, who's she? You know, just in passing,
Right,
because I thought she was hot. You know,
right.
and anyway.
And anyway, they asked me if it was okay, and I said sure, and then he never called me. So the next time I went in to pay
That
a rent,
heel.
I know.
Yeah.
They said, "You sit down here on the floor, and we're going to call him and tell him he's got paperwork to send to his grandma, to sign for his grandma." And they did, and he came over, and that's how we actually met. It had nothing to do with music.
So the Norwood apartment managers were in on this.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were playing matchmaker.
They were playing matchmaker, and the funny thing is both of them had been in the military with my dad.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All
so
right.
so they figured it was okay.
Right.
But then my dad was mad because they introduced me to a musician.
You know, yeah.
An ex-musician because
An ex-musician at the
I had
time.
come back to town. I was done. I thought everything bad that ever happened in my life was because of music.
Uh-huh, okay.
And I'm like, I'm done. So we met, and we'll finish your story, but
Well,
it kind of.
That's basically it. You know, I had no idea that this would be the way my life would go.
Sure,
And then when his mom came back into town, he wanted me to do the music with the group,
sure.
because I always wanted to do music with him, and we thought it was a good opportunity, and that's just kind of how it happened.
I see. So you injure your arm in a car wreck, and you have to shelve your dreams of being a concert pianist. But I noticed there's a keyboard behind us, and I've
There
seen
is.
you playing it. So you still play keyboard
I
to
still
some
play
degree.
keys, just
What-
not like Rachmaninoff and you know, Liszt,
Okay.
and I can still play.
Right.
Just not at the level that I would need to be able
You
to.
didn't have the technical
No, I
proficiency.
don't have the proficiency
Okay.
anymore.
All right.
I thought Rachmaninoff was a vodka. Isn't that a vodka? Can we say vodka
I
on this
think
show?
you're derailing my show.
Oh, I'm
but-
sorry. I don't know if we could say
It happens.
vodka on
Yeah,
the show.
it might be a vodka. I don't know. We can say vodka. We can say tequila. We can say bourbon. We might even be able to say marijuana on the show if we don't do any.
Uh-oh.
So where were we in the narrative?
I think that we had met and started singing with the family.
Started singing with the family
Yep.
9 years later.
to backing tracks, and some of us think it's weird.
Yep.
Our apologies, but people keep coming to the show. So then what happened?
It just kind of progressed, and we kept doing more and more stuff, and then
And people are asking us to do things, and I'm like, okay. All right, okay.
and then he decided that he wanted us to start doing duo stuff,
Duo stuff,
because the group costs a lot of money.
Right.
As you know, there's 5 of us plus a manager, and so we're kind of expensive, but we, as a duo,
Right.
aren't as expensive. And he kind of wanted to do this for his living.
Yep. So we graduated. We actually graduated from college
Together.
We walked across the stage together.
Wow.
basically,
In
yep.
2011.
But so I found myself out of a job. Basically, I had this DJ karaoke business
Right.
for 10 years.
10 years.
And so anyway, so that was done in 2000, like
13.
July of 2013. Anyway, so I found myself out of a job basically, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, come work with me out at this car lot. I'm not going to say who it is." And it just wasn't. I just felt it wasn't a good fit for me.
Right.
So I just prayed,
Mm-hmm.
you know, talking to God. I was like, "Hey, if you open doors for me, man, and let me do this for a living, you see my heart. You know, I don't think I'm made to sell cars. This isn't my gig. You know, I'm not made to
Right.
be a DJ. I think I'm made to do music, to use the gifts that you gave me. So if you open the doors, you know, I'll go wherever you want me to go, and I'll never cease to give you credit for the things that you've done in
Okay.
my life, to lift
All
him
right.
up and to say his name, stuff like that." So anyway, not to take a crazy turn here in the conversation, but that's kind of what happened.
Well,
and
you have to be very careful making a promise like that.
yeah, right. And the craziest thing about it is I've been doing music full time since.
Right.
I haven't had a job.
Wow.
And I'm 46 years old. I mean, I do all right.
Right?
You
Well,
know,
good for
so-
you. Thank
so
you,
very
Jesus.
thankful.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Jesus.
Anyway.
So you kind of answered one of my questions. The family unit is still performing.
No.
No.
They do a little bit. They by choice they decided to kind of hang it up a little bit.
Okay.
And do things few and far between, only when they want to.
Sure.
And it's generally smaller things.
Sure.
You know, like a funeral or just kind of a private thing for friends or friends of friends or something like
Or
that.
like
you
a
know,
gospel event.
gospel events.
Okay,
that kind of
sure.
stuff. But
So it's mostly you two doing your thing. We really need to. We could talk all day long,
We
but
could.
we have a guitar and an amplifier to talk about.
Okay.
And I think we
Let's
need
do
to
it.
do that right now, starting with the guitar. How about?
Okay. So this is I don't know what year it is, but it is I got it in 2018, late
17.
2017.
Okay.
November 2017, something like that. And it's an American Elite Stratocaster.
With tobacco sunburst.
Well, the color's Tobacco Sunburst. It's an ash body, of course, maple neck.
It
pretty
is
sure those
a
are-
gorgeous guitar.
Oh, thank you. I think those are nickel frets. Or are those stainless, Johnny? What do you think? I think
They're
nickel.
probably nickel. We need to mention mint green pick guard. We have to get that in.
This one here.
Yeah, the pick guard.
Oh, yes. Isn't that crazy?
It's absolutely lovely.
So it came when I got it with the vintage noiseless pickups
Sure.
that Fender makes,
Yeah.
and I think it's in their like American Ultras too.
Right.
Some of those. Anyway, you know, in the first couple of years I played it, I was like, this sounds great, and then I just, to be honest with you, I heard Johnny, and I heard his tone. I'm like, my guitar sounds terrible. Well, that's a true story. We were at Will Waller's studio. And I was there, and I was like, man, that is what a Stratocaster is supposed to sound like.
Right.
Now, I know that tone is mostly in your,
Right.
yourself.
But I
you know what
love
mean?
where we're going with this story.
But anyway, so I said, you know what? I'm going to swap these pickups out. I didn't plan to do that. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to play it, I'm gonna just swap the pickups out. So I got some vintage '59 Fender pickups and Scott packed downstairs.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it really.
And he researched the living daylights out of it.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I was on. Yeah.
Well, if you were going to be exactly like Johnny, you needed a hand wound set from
And
from
he was a big
Angela
part of
Pack.
me choosing these because.
Well, those are good pickups too. Could it be that the vintage noiseless were reverse wound, reverse polarity, and I apologize, we're getting super wonky.
No, that's okay. Now that's a part that I don't know a lot about. Johnny would be the guy.
Because I am a Strat purist, and they're not supposed to be like that. And many guitars come with that configuration,
Okay.
which essentially turns position 2 and 4 into humbuckers. Which, congratulations, you now no longer have a Fender Strat.
Exactly. Yeah, and on that, with the vintage noise, it had the volume pedal. It had, I think it was called an S1 switch,
Okay,
where you could push it in, and supposedly it would give it more
right.
growl, a little bit
Right.
more bite. But what I found with it is it just muddied it up, man. It sounded terrible, I thought. But
Right.
so I never once used the thing.
Uh-huh. There we go. Not that we care to malign the fabulous
course,
Fender
of
Musical
course.
Instruments Company, who makes many fine.
Yes, they do. Are you endorsed by them?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Keep
No.
going, you will be.
But my favorite part of that story is you hear Johnny playing, and you pick up your guitar, and you're like, dude, these pickups.
Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, so what do you think about what would you do? Texas Specials or
right.
you know the 69,
Right.
the 59s, whatever. And he was a lot of help. He's like, well, you know, Texas Specials gonna be a little brighter, maybe a little chimier on the
Right.
top end, all this kind of stuff like that.
Right.
So I just figured, for the type of stuff we do, we don't just do one thing. We don't just do blues. We don't just do rock, or you know,
Right.
we don't just do country. We do all these things. So I needed something that was as versatile as possible. And I you know, me not being a guitar player, just being little old me, I said these are probably the best choice for
Right.
being able to cover different things.
Well, if you're happy with them, and if it sounds like you want it to now,
I love it, yeah. And
well,
I
perfect.
went with some little thinner strings. Of course, talking to Johnny and Bruce
Right.
Hubert downstairs.
Yeah. I am a huge fan of smaller strings. I would take the strings off and play air guitar if I could. We need to get onto this somehow. The first Kemper Profiler amplifier on my show.
Okay.
Tell us why you selected it and why you love it.
Okay. Well, two reasons I selected it.
Can I tell the first one?
Okay.
Because we play a lot,
Right?
and we got really, really, really tired of lugging those heavy flippin' amplifiers
Oh my
around.
goodness.
She
So I
has
was-
nailed the first answer
Yeah.
on the head.
No, that's the truth.
That
Right.
is-
In the summertime, we go 7 days a week.
Right.
You know, and
inside, outside,
outside.
on porches.
and you never know what the load in, load out's going to be. And I
Right.
got so tired of getting home and just, you know, you're dripping wet, and I'm just like,
Before you even start your gig, you're like,
Right.
yeah. So I had, basically, I think it's pretty much the same amp that Johnny has. That's a Fender
A deluxe reverb?
single 12, yeah, all
Yeah.
tube and stuff.
and
And and then I have
You
my
had a Mesa, right?
Yep, I have a Mesa Triple Crown 50-watt
Right.
head with the 412 proprietary slant.
That would get
Extra
old
size
hauling
cab and
around
stuff.
7
well, we
days a
didn't
week.
Well-
we didn't actually haul that one, but he.
I never used the 412
You did
cab.
once.
I did once, but so what I did is I would set up the Fender,
Right.
mic that, and then we would just run an XLR out of the cab clone on the back of the Mesa Triple Crown,
Oh, okay.
and it worked. Ish, you know what I mean?
Right.
The biggest pain in the rear.
But it was heavy, and it still didn't sound the way that I wanted it to sound.
Right.
So I had seen this on YouTube, you know, on Sweetwater
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuff, and I think I had this preconceived idea that because it's digital, that it's just not good.
Right.
It's not going to be. It's not going to work. It's not going to sound like an amp, you know. And it doesn't. And Johnny made a really good point when I was talking to him about it. You know, audibly, I think it sounds exactly like an amplifier coming out of point source speakers or whatever.
Right.
But what you do as a pure guitar player, you know, like you or Johnny or Bruce or something, you're not going to get that sound pressure, that speaker, you know, vibrating your
Right.
leg on stage, that kind of thing. but we don't use amps on stage. We use in-ears. Everything is kind of
Keep it as compact as we can.
as compact as possible. So for me, it works perfectly, and it is light. And
Right.
It's compact. We put a
I
little
can
case
carry
in
it.
it.
Right.
I can set this thing up and tear it down in literally 2 minutes.
Sure.
We timed it.
That's it.
So, in your shows, how many outs do you have from this?
From this, I'm just doing 2, left
Just-
and right stereo.
Left and right out.
Yep.
And the guitar in.
Yep.
And so that's the first positive is
Yes.
how simple it is. The next positive is how incredibly much you can do with this. You probably, I'm guessing, well, nobody in the entire world has mastered the Kemper, but
Right.
you've scratched the surface at this point.
I've scratched the surface.
But
of it.
you found tones immediately that you liked.
Yeah. So when it comes to you, you can use I think it's browser mode.
Oops.
Yeah, browser mode. And I'll just kind of bend. Is it okay if I bend down? And
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So browser mode.
Totally against the rules, honey.
Let's see here. So you can select. Here's your browser switch. There's all these different amps, and they're from 1 to 320.
Wow.
It's 320 amps. Okay. And they range from, let's say if you're at amp number 3, 4, or 5, they go from clean to dirty.
I see. Okay.
So you can take some of these, and these are actual amps. Like there's an AC30 in there, like a real classic vintage AC30 that somebody has profiled in a studio
Sure.
under Ideal, and they're great profiles. You know what I
Right.
mean, it's not just a great amp, but they've profiled it technically correctly. You know what I mean? So
Right.
sounds great. Marshalls, Dumbles, just about any amp you can possibly think of. High watts, British. I think there's some Hughes and Kettner stuff in there. Fender galore,
Mhm.
just everything. So what you can do is you can go in and select these amps and tweak them if you want, if you feel the need to, and then rename them something else. So you can keep the original profile but make a copy of one that
Right.
you've modified for yourself. And then you can pull it into what's called, was that us?
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay. So you can pull one of those profiles that you've tweaked into what is called the perform mode.
Okay.
And okay, so in perform mode, you have a billion different banks
Sure.
that you can pull in what they call performances. And what that is basically is just a series of amps and settings, up to 5 of them. You can have up to 5 different amps with 2 different settings
Okay.
per amp, say rhythm, solo, kind
Right.
of thing. Now between those rhythm and solo, you can completely and totally tweak your
Sure.
amplifier. Like say for the chorus, I want the volume to come down a little bit. I want a little less gain. I don't want as much reverb and delay.
Right.
And then you flip to lead mode or whatever mode you want to call it, and then you can put all those other goodies. And there's
Sure.
this thing samples. So this will sample your amp that you have. It'll sample your pedals.
Right.
It's
Wow.
really kind of an amazing thing. And what it does, and you can set the time, like say, I don't want I'm playing a song and I need to go into lead, but I don't want it to go wah, and then the lead to come.
Right.
So you can set the time that volume comes
Oh.
up.
Okay.
Half a second, 4
Right.
seconds, whatever
Wow.
it is. And it'll you watch the dials on the amps to like do this. The faster you set that to go,
Huh.
it's really
cool.
crazy. It's pretty cool.
It is a truly amazing piece of gear. The other thing you mentioned, less sound on stage. Many of us are beginning to realize that's an excellent way to preserve our ears. The Kemper Profiler is kind of the newest wave of digital modeling technology, and I don't even know what I'm talking about, but apparently you can hook your amplifier into this and it'll like suck the mojo out of your amplifier. I don't even know how that works, but they keep telling me you can do that. Very, very, very respectable profiles of the amp. You would have to have the other amp sitting right beside it to tell the difference.
Yes, and you want to make sure that. Oh yeah,
Is that us?
I think that might be my guitar wireless up here.
Oh, do you need to
It's all
join in?
good.
Being
Okay.
strange. Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Haggerty's Music Works sells many wireless systems
Yes,
Yes,
they
they
at
do.
reasonable prices. By the way, if you are experiencing difficulties with your wireless system, while he's working on that, do you want to talk about your keyboard?
I could talk a little bit about my keyboard. I don't know as much about it as I should. It's a Yamaha P115. It doesn't have tons of bells and whistles. We didn't want it to be like the, like a clavinova or something where
Right.
it's got all this stuff. But it'll do strings, and that is really obnoxious.
Those are our mics.
Oh, it is.
Yes. Okay.
What is
All right.
going on?
Just wireless signals.
Fantastic. But it has weighted keys, and
Okay.
I actually got. I hate those little flat pedals that they give you for the standard, so I got
Okay.
an actual pedal.
Sure.
Which
Gotcha.
I've discovered that I can play in heels, but it needs something under it because I start going like this because it slides.
These are difficulties of the actual working musician.
Yes.
Things we have to learn. Right.
Yes, yep.
Well, how many keyboards in are we here? Is this your third, fourth, first?
This is my, and technically you're not allowed to call it a keyboard. It is a digital piano.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
How many digital pianos have you had?
Two.
Two.
I
Okay.
got when I moved out of my folks' house and into an apartment.
Right.
I was still actively pursuing
Sure.
piano, and I knew I needed something that had a volume on it because
Right.
it was an apartment house. So I got a clavinova in
Okay.
1993. I still have it.
Oh.
It still functions,
Right.
although somebody broke some of the keys on it
We
at
won't
one
go
point in
there.
time.
It wasn't me. We won't go
It
there.
wasn't Orion.
Oh. Okay. Perfect.
And then so you can plug headphones into it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the clavinova actually I could record. It had floppy disks.
Oh. Wow.
I still have the floppy disks.
Right.
But now we can record MIDI into it and things
Right.
like that, and you can do the same with this.
Sure.
And it's got very, very nice weighted keys.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Cool.
And then you can play it without having it has external speakers.
Okay.
So, you can play. You don't have to have it plugged into a system. I can
I
just
see.
drag it out and pop it up and
Right.
play it.
Awesome.
The reason we chose this is because of its weight. It still
Mhm.
had the full, the full 88
Full
keys,
88.
Right.
and it sounds great coming through the mixer, just out through the. Again, we don't use amps, so that was the big thing: the weight and the 88 keys, though,
Right.
And
and
weighted.
the way that it sounded.
Weighted sound and the fact that I can pick it up myself.
The weight of the digital piano and the fact that it had weighted keys.
Yeah.
In case we've managed to confuse anybody.
Right.
On the internet.
Yeah, it was, in other words, it was light. It's
Right.
It's not like a
And the motif.
like a Yamaha motif.
Right.
Oh
which
my
we
gosh, that
have,
thing was
but the thing weighs
so
like
heavy.
Right.
800 pounds. You know what I mean?
So we got this in the Kemper, and then life was a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, we got this first.
Well,
and
this
then-
actually made life harder, but that's fine.
Oh dear. Oh
just
no.
just for setup.
Oh,
setup, yeah.
okay. Gotcha. Sure.
But the
yeah.
Kemper made life much easier, and for performance time,
Right.
it has saved us dead air.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then he's got it. He could play Comfortably Numb and Wicked Game and White Wedding and Vince Gill and what else do you have on there? I Just Died in Your
Stevie Ray
Arms.
Vaughan, which
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
not that I can play Stevie
Not
Ray Vaughan,
yet, but
but
he's
I want
working on
his
it.
tone. I
Right.
love Stevie Ray Vaughan's tone.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
tried to mess around to see if I could emulate that
Sure.
some way.
Right.
But
and
he
I
could do
think I kind of did. But
he could
Yeah.
do all of those right in a row without having to
Right.
pedal and do all the stuff he was having to do. So it's really
Yeah.
saved
It's-
performance-wise. It saved us dead
it
air.
is so
Right.
user friendly. I mean, for somebody that's in a band, if you're in a band and you got 3-4 other guys, whatever, you probably are going to want a speaker with this, depending on how
Right.
you're setting up.
Right.
What your tempo of performance is. So that everybody on stage can hear it.
Right.
Unless everybody has ears, then you're
Right.
golden. But
Yeah.
for us, it made sense, and it really has made life easier. So
Cool.
I love it.
I should ask you, Orion, what was your first guitar?
I was hoping that you wouldn't ask that because there's a terrible story that's associated with my first guitar.
We have
Okay.
to hear the terrible story.
So, well, technically, my first guitar was a Harmony electric, 6-string electric. I don't even know if there's a model, but they got it for me. I was, I think, 13 years old. We were traveling around singing gospel, and we were based out of Pueblo, Colorado at the
Okay.
time. And So they got me this 6-string Harmony electric from
Right.
like Shopko or something
Sure.
like that, and of course, no lessons, but I could, I found where E was. I didn't know what it was called, but I could make a couple chords,
Right,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But then we moved. And I think I left the guitar there. Or
Oh,
something. And then after that, my next guitar was, I think I got it in 2015 or 16 from Bruce Newbert, right here
Oh.
at Haggerty's. This is the terrible story. And
Uh-oh.
it's a Mexican-made Telecaster.
all right.
It's white, rosewood fingerboard,
Mhm.
maple neck, that sort of thing. And I really wanted to try to be a little bit more proficient on guitar, so I purchased this thing from Bruce downstairs. And I was practicing, and I don't even know what in the world happened, but I got really upset one night in the house
Uh-huh.
while I was playing it.
Right.
And like an idiot, I took the thing off and just like this, and I chucked it.
Oh.
I mean, threw it across the room.
Uh-huh.
This is an embarrassing story. I'm sorry, Bruce. It had nothing to do with the guitar. I love the guitar. I still have it, and it's my practice guitar next to my bed. at home.
Okay.
Anyway, but so it bent, one of the tuning pegs. This one right here, it's like sitting this way,
Oh.
and it knocked the neck out of whack and put a couple dings in it. But it has character.
I see. You've never gotten it repaired? You just pulled it out of the wall and started using it for practice?
Basically, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be dang. Yeah. Haggerty's Music Works has a fine guitar repair
They
department.
do.
I know they do.
Yeah.
I think I'm maybe just a little embarrassed to bring it in.
Well, now the
'Cause I have
cat's
to
out
come
of the
up with a
bag. You
story.
can bring the white telly down now.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is
It's
true.
out of-
After Bruce watches, and surely he
Yeah.
will understand.
That is the first. Well, no, that wasn't the. So I was going to say that was the first and last time. But what I also did is I took a hammer to my Fender Deluxe
Yeah.
amp.
Oh my!
Yeah, I was really upset, and
This is rock and roll we're talking about, though.
yeah.
Good for you, buddy.
But you know what? All I did was destroy the 12-inch cone.
Right? Yeah.
All the tubes were fine.
Yeah.
They were able to find
This
the
is-
mesh.
when you say
know.
they,
Leo made them to last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when we say they, we are referring to the Haggerty's repair
Haggerty's.
team.
Oh, okay.
So there's no doubt.
All right.
Haggerty's.
Right. Yeah.
These guys are awesome.
Well, yeah, after this episode airs, bring that telly down and they'll understand. I'm sure there ain't one of them hasn't chucked a telly through an aquarium at one point.
That sounds like a story we need to hear.
I don't know. I definitely learned a lesson from that because
Well, I have had so much fun, we probably better wrap it up and
All
you
right.
guys can perform and then we'll
All
all
right.
go home on this bitterly cold evening.
it
Here.
is cold.
Yeah, we hope it warms up by the time that the people watch this, actually. Let's see here. Remember my sponsorship with Trask Hay LLC, large, round, and square bales, 515-0858. And David Gilmore says, change your strings. Ladies and gentlemen, Orion and Stacey Potter are going to play for you.
Is there anybody in there? Just not if you can hear me. Is there anyone home? Come on now. I hear you feeling down. The distant ships on the horizon. You are only coming through in waves. Your lips move, I can't tell what you're saying.